Welcome to Mind Shield. We protect the mind and pursue the truth. Let's get started.
Welcome to Mind Shield Academy. Look, we all know the media can be a powerful amplifier for the truth, or it can chew you up and spit you out as a headline. So in this explainer, we're going to give you the tools you need to engage with journalists safely and, more importantly, effectively.
Let's start with the single most important rule you need to burn into your brain. The media runs on verification, not faith. Getting this is absolutely key to making sure your story helps, not hurts. Your job isn't to make a journalist believe you, it's to give them a story they can actually verify.
So many people, and I'm talking especially about survivors and advocates, have this deep, understandable fear of being misquoted, of being ridiculed, or, worst of all, having their identity exposed. And you know what? Those are 100% valid fears. Going public is a massive risk. If you're not prepared, it can all backfire, and your claims just get dismissed. The trick is to change the game, to stop being a passive subject and become an active, prepared partner.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to walk through a 5-part playbook. Think of this as your roadmap from feeling anxious and uncertain to feeling empowered and strategic when you're talking to the press.
First things first, we have to get our heads around the fundamental currency of journalism. And it's not about confirming what someone already believes or winning some kind of debate. It all comes down to one thing: presenting clear, checkable facts that a reporter can go out and validate for themselves.
And this right here is where all your power comes from. It's in disciplined documentation. You have to start thinking less like you're telling a story and more like you're an investigator building a case file. Every single claim you make has to be backed up by evidence that you've carefully logged, preserved, and can explain.
And all that hard work, all that documentation, it builds directly into what is going to be your most powerful tool, the press packet. I want you to think of this thing as your armor. It's a professional dossier that tells the journalists right from the get-go that you are serious, you're organized, and you're credible.
So what's in a professional press packet? 4 key things. First, a super clean one-page timeline of what happened. Second, what we call an evidence ladder, basically an index of all your proof. Third, you include your 3 absolute strongest pieces of evidence plus 2 null trials. Now, a null trial is just an example of where you looked for evidence but came up empty. Why would you do that? Because it shows you're being honest and not just cherry-picking the stuff that fits your narrative. And finally, you have one single, clear request for what you want them to investigate.
And that's the whole point, right? You're taking a personal story and methodically turning it into a professional, evidence-based dossier. That's what gets you taken seriously. That's what commands attention from journalists, investigators, you name it.
Okay, so your dossier is ready to go. You have your armor. Now you need your protocol for communication. This part is completely non-negotiable. Before you send a single message, you have to decide on your rules of engagement. You control the terms.
And your protocol needs to be crystal clear from that very first contact. State your needs for anonymity immediately. Always use secure, encrypted channels. We're talking Signal or Proton Mail. Say no to live calls that could give away your location through background noise or just compromise your security. And you have to protect your digital footprint like your life depends on it, which means no raw files with identifying data attached.
All right, you've got your tools, you've got your rules. Now you need to learn how to spot the traps out there in the wild. And it's so important to remember that not every journalist is engaging in good faith. Some aren't looking for a story, they're looking for a spectacle.
So how do you tell the difference? Well, a legit journalist is going to be focused on your evidence. They'll respect your boundaries. But a reporter who's just looking for a sensational story, they're going to push for pure emotion. They'll try to pressure you into naming names, and they'll have that gotcha tone. They want to create a mystery, not solve one. The second you spot these red flags, you disengage. Immediately.
And to see just how this works in the real world, let's take a look at a case study from a NATO analysis. It breaks down the exact anatomy of how a bad faith story is manufactured just to undermine a target and distract everybody from the actual issue. See the playbook here? It's classic. First, the narrative gets seeded on social media. Then, it's packaged up into a so-called dossier and slipped to friendly journalists. From there, it gets laundered through fringe outlets to make it look like a real story. And then comes the final move. A reporter asks a seemingly innocent question at a big press conference. And just like that, the claims are laundered into the national news. The goal was never to report facts. It was to hijack the news cycle and destroy someone's credibility.
Now, the work doesn't stop when the interview is over or the story is published. Your final step is aftercare. This is all about protecting yourself, protecting your evidence, and protecting your own well-being for the long haul.
This is where you have to maintain that same level of discipline. After every single interaction, you document what you shared. You securely store every piece of communication. And maybe most importantly, you have to resist that urge to get online and react to everything. A lot of smear campaigns are designed to provoke you. You have to maintain your composure, focus on your well-being, and let your dossier do all the talking.
When you use this playbook, you completely transform the dynamic. You're not just a source anymore. You're a prepared, professional partner in an investigation. And that's how you move from a place of fear to a place of control. That's how you get ready to engage safely and powerfully.
So join us for our next explainer, where we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, practical steps of how to actually submit your new dossier through secure, anonymous channels so you can do it cleanly without ever compromising your identity.